What if the iPhone 18 Pro didn't have a notch or even a dynamic island? That might actually happen. According to a new report, Apple is planning to completely redesign the iPhone 18 Pro's front display. If this turns out to be true, the Pro and Pro Max models launching in 2026 might finally have no notch, no pill, and no island. Just a clean screen with only a small camera cutout. Let's break this down. Right now, Apple uses a pill-shaped cutout on its newer iPhones called the Dynamic Island. This cutout holds both the selfie camera and the Face ID sensors. It's not just for looks either. Dynamic Island also works as a smart interface for alerts and background tasks, but Apple may soon ditch the entire thing. A new report from The Information says that Apple plans to move all Face ID sensors under the screen for the iPhone 18 Pro and Pro Max. This means you would only see a tiny hole in the top left corner for the front camera. No more big black shapes cutting into your display. This isn't a new idea. Display analyst Ross Young has talked about under-screen Face ID before. In fact, he mentioned it had been pushed to 2026, which lines up perfectly with these new leaks. If Apple pulls this off, the iPhone 18 Pro could finally offer a truly edge-to-edge display. The notch on the iPhone X was the first step, then came the smaller dynamic island. Now, this can be the final step toward a clearer, more modern iPhone look. But there's a big question. What happens to the dynamic island software feature? Right now, it reacts to what you're doing, like showing music playback, timers, or incoming calls. If Apple removes the physical pill, the software features still make sense. Or will Apple redesign that experience too? As of now, no one really knows. It's possible Apple will either rework Dynamic Island to fit around the new hole punch design or completely remove it. If Apple does go forward with this plan, it would put them ahead in terms of display design. Some Android brands like Samsung have already used under-display cameras, but Apple's Face ID system is far more complex, requiring multiple sensors for depth and security. Hiding all of that under a screen without hurting performance or display quality is a serious challenge. That's why this shift, if successful, would be a major step. Face ID isn't just a convenience, it's also tied into payments, unlocking, and security. So Apple has to make sure the speed, accuracy, and reliability of Face ID stay the same even when it's under the screen. Also, it's worth pointing out that this redesign seems limited to the Pro models. Regular iPhone 18 versions might still use older designs or at least something less ambitious. Apple often keeps new features exclusive to the Pro lineup before bringing them to the base models. Another detail to keep in mind, Apple is rumored to be thinking about 2 major iPhone launches per year starting soon. So changes like this may be part of a bigger shift in how Apple updates its products. That could lead to faster rollouts and new tech appearing earlier than expected. To sum it up, if the rumors are right, the iPhone 18 Pro might be Apple's cleanest, most futuristic design yet. No notch, no dynamic island. Just a hole for the front camera and a hidden Face ID system beneath the screen. Would you prefer this design over the current dynamic island, or do you think Apple should keep that feature around a little longer? Let us know in the comments. And if you like this update, don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more easy-to-understand tech news every week. Will your Galaxy S26 come with the weaker chip? It's almost confirmed now. Samsung is going to release the Galaxy S26 series with 2 different processors depending on where you live. Some users will get the Snapdragon 8 Elite 2, while others will have to settle for the Exynos 2600. And if you've been following Samsung's history, you probably already know what that means. Exynos versions of Galaxy phones have often lagged behind the Snapdragon ones, whether in terms of speed, efficiency, or battery performance. And it looks like this trend will continue in 2026. Reports say Samsung has been working hard on its new 2nm Exynos 2600 chip, but yield rates are still not high enough to power every Galaxy S26 model globally. So, what's the plan now? Samsung will continue what it has done before, ship the Exynos version to certain regions, including multiple countries in Europe, while countries like the United States will receive the Snapdragon-powered Galaxy S26 models. Now, here's where things get a little more interesting. Even though Samsung won't be able to launch the Exynos 2600 everywhere, it might still gain something from this situation. The company is currently in talks with Qualcomm to actually manufacture the Snapdragon 8 Elite 2 chips. If that happens, Samsung can at least reduce production costs while also boosting the reputation of its own chip manufacturing business. That means even if users get the Snapdragon variant, Samsung still benefits. For Samsung Foundry, this would be a big win. They've recently made progress on stabilizing their 3nm process and are now focusing more on 2nm production. If they prove they can deliver high-end chips reliably, it could bring in more clients, maybe even some outside of the mobile market. Originally, Samsung hoped to power all Galaxy S26 phones with its own Exynos 2600 chip. That would have been a bold move, showing confidence in their chip-making abilities and creating better integration between hardware and software. After all, companies like Apple and Huawei have shown that making your own chips can lead to better performance and user experience. Think about Apple's M-series chips. It completely changed what people expect from performance, especially on Macs and iPads. That's what Samsung wants with Exynos, have full control and better optimization across their devices. But we're not quite there yet. The Exynos 2600 just isn't ready for a full-scale global launch. Still, the fact that it's good enough to be used in some markets is a clear sign of progress. It shows that Samsung is moving in the right direction, even if it's not happening as quickly as they'd hoped. Now, the big question is, will this matter to most users? In all honesty, the performance gap between Exynos and Snapdragon may not be huge for everyday use. Most people probably won't notice a big difference when browsing the web, watching videos, or using social media. But for power users, gamers, or those who care deeply about benchmarks and long-term performance, this could be a deal breaker. The mixed chipset strategy is likely to cause some frustration. People want to know they're getting the best version of the phone no matter where they live. And until Samsung can make enough Exynos chips to go fully in-house, this split could hurt consumer trust. What do you think?
Is Samsung finally fixing its software problems before the Galaxy Z Flip 7 even launches? That's what recent leaks suggest. After the rocky rollout of One UI 7, with its bugs, laggy animations, and confusing features, it looks like Samsung is trying to get things right this time with One UI 8. And if everything goes as expected, the changes could make a big difference, especially for people using flip and foldable phones. One of the first things spotted in early tests of One UI 8 is smoother animations. If you've ever used One UI 7 and tried closing several apps quickly, you might have noticed the animations freeze or glitch a little. It's not a huge issue, but it can make the phone feel less polished. In One UI 8, Samsung seems to have fixed that. When you close apps quickly one after another, the animations now flow better without freezing or skipping. This might seem like a small thing, but it can make the phone feel faster and more reliable during daily use. Another interesting update is about the Now bar. If you don't know what that is, the Now bar is a small section on the screen that shows useful information like your current music, the weather, or shortcuts to settings. On the Galaxy Z Flip 6, this feature was only available on the inner screen, which didn't make much sense. The point of a flip phone is to be able to use it without opening it all the time. So why wasn't this quick info bar available on the cover screen? Well, with One UI 8, that might finally change. Samsung is reportedly working on bringing the Now bar to the outer display, which means you'll be able to check info and control apps with a simple tap without opening the phone. There's also a strong chance that One UI 8 could launch along with the new Galaxy Z Flip 7 and Galaxy Z Fold 7, possibly as early as July during Samsung's next Unpacked event. That would be a big step forward, especially considering how slow and delayed the One UI 7 and Android 15 rollouts were. If Samsung can launch its new software alongside its next-gen foldables, it could show users that it's back on track. Speaking of new hardware, there are a few things to expect with the Z Flip 7. Leaks suggest the phone might have a slightly bigger cover screen, a new Exynos 2500 processor made by Samsung, and a larger battery to help it last longer. The charging speed, though, is likely to stay the same as before. Meanwhile, the Galaxy Z Fold 7 could come with Qualcomm's new Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 Elite processor, be thinner than the last model, and possibly even feature a 200-megapixel main camera, which would be a big jump in photo quality. Even though things have been a bit slow in the foldable phone market, many experts think that could change soon. There are even rumors that Apple might release a foldable iPhone by the end of 2026. That means Samsung doesn't have much time to waste if it wants to stay ahead. Software improvements like those in One UI 8 could be the key to keeping users happy and loyal. Of course, there's always the chance that One UI 8 won't be ready in time, and Samsung might go with a One UI 7.1 update instead. But whether it's a full version or just a point release, the early signs suggest Samsung is focusing on the right things: better performance, smoother animations, and smarter use of hardware like the cover screen. These kinds of small updates can make everyday use more enjoyable, and they show that Samsung is listening. What do you think about the upcoming changes in One UI 8 and the new foldables? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if you found this video helpful, make sure to like and subscribe to our channel for more tech updates.